Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, and most especially Brandon, who's looking at me terrified. Do we really buy that this guy is looking for a C minus after that speech? At least, at a bare minimum. If this was his C minus approach, I would love to see how he'd do if he were shooting for an A plus. He had us hooked from the introduction because that was a great line about being a guy who set his sights on a C minus. We're all kind of saying, okay, what's this speech going to be like now? And then he talked about this most miserable experience in this professor that he's begging not to fail him. This was all in the introduction before he even got up here on stage. And then as soon as he got up, it was the usual self-deprecating, self-effacing humor where he apologized to us and said, hey, look, I'm sorry, I didn't choose to be this way. Talk about all these different things that made him who he is and kind of unique, but as he blamed his mother for acne, baldness, weird vibe, it was all pretty hilarious. It kind of disarmed us. And then he launched into this very technical discussion about what we're doing in genetics now. And he'd fly off on these tangents and he'd pontificate, but somehow he managed to connect it all back and make it make sense for us all as an audience. So I think overall, you really did a marvelous job with this speech on a topic that really doesn't necessarily lend itself to easily connecting with an audience. You connected with us in some powerful ways, most especially in your conclusion that tied back into the introduction, where I guess it was kind of midway point of the speech, where you said, we're gods, and you concluded by saying, well, we're not gods, we're human beings. I thought that was an excellent note to close on. How you could have grouped this speech. It was very esoteric. As an audience member, it's a little hard to connect with all the jargon that you had throughout the speech. And also, because of that jargon, I thought you were pretty subdued. You were kind of held back a little. I didn't quite get the full spectrum of Brandon that I would have liked. And that's kind of a critique that I would give you is there wasn't a lot of vocal variety. You kind of stayed pretty much within the same range. I think you could have gotten. And you could have gotten higher and challenging. You weren't totally a potted plant. I was going to criticize you on this, and then I noticed you were in transition as you were moving across the room. And I was like, actually, he is moving with purpose. But you could have gotten out there a little bit more and connected with your audience a little bit more on some of the points. But overall, I thought your gestures were spot on. It's hard to find a lot of things to critique given the esoteric nature of the speech. I thought it was terrific, especially the unintended consequences and the comparisons of humanity to Mother Nature's child puberty laws, etc. Overall, terrific job. Can't wait to hear your A+ speech.